Rewatching this as an adult, I have a new appreciation for it. I also see a few things differently about it, like rethinking whether Leatherface is even a slasher. To be fair, he didn't start off going out to kill people. People kept walking their happy asses into his house. Hey Latchkey kids and driving mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, mistress of the snark, connoisseur of the gore, and your hostess with the mostest. Since a brand new entry into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise has just been released, I decided I should go back and revisit the original franchise, starting with the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. I've already seen this movie a few times in my life, but this will be the first time I've rewatched it within the last 10 years. The first time I ever saw the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, I was 11 years old and I watched it with my grandmother, and I remember being very disappointed that there wasn't an actual chainsaw massacre in the movie. Mind you, I watched this after I had already seen Halloween, a couple of Friday the 13th movies, and I think the first two Nightmare on Elm Street movies on cable or on video. So for me, Leatherface didn't scare me as much as Michael Myers or Freddy Krueger. I've never been afraid of Jason, I'm just entertained by Jason. That said, rewatching this as an adult, I can appreciate so much more about this movie. I really like the opening with the gooey, decomposing corpse. That looked great. Along with the opening text scroll, the sound of the camera flash, and the radio voiceover, it just set the tone for this. In case you don't know, this is about some young adults traveling who pick up a strange hitchhiker and stumble upon a family of cannibals, including their imposing son Leatherface. I really admire the technical aspects of this movie, so much so that I think that it is an insult when people do not give Tobe Hooper his credit for Poltergeist. Yes, there's some aspects that are clearly influenced by Steven Spielberg, but I absolutely believe that Tobe Hooper deserves some credit for directing Poltergeist. As I said earlier, rewatching this as an adult, I have a new appreciation for it. I also see a few things differently about it, like rethinking whether Leatherface is even a slasher. To be fair, he didn't start off going out to kill people. People kept walking their happy asses into his house, and from his perspective, they're the invaders. That said, he didn't have to kill them, and he did eventually go outside as Sally and Franklin were approaching his house. But I digress. There is a shot reverse shot scene in the van, and I just thought about how hard that must have been to film with the size of film cameras they had back then. I really enjoyed the nice wide shots that give you so much visual information about the area that they are in. Plus the color looked great. Blue skies, green fields, some even covered with sunflowers. This shot of this entranceway with the red wall and Leatherface's first appearance with his skin mask and yellow smock is iconic. Despite how bright and colorful this is, and how many scenes were shot in broad daylight, there's still a grittiness to this. Dear new filmmakers, you don't have to mute the colors to make something look grimy. The nighttime scenes look great as well. Man, remember when horror filmmakers used to actually shoot scenes at night? Real night, not day for night. Day for night is when they shoot a scene in the daytime and then go back and use editing software to make it look as though it's nighttime. But it never actually ever looks like it's actually nighttime. Speaking of nighttime, there's some really fun jump scares during the night. Leatherface literally comes out of the darkness, and it's a really effective jump scare. After all these years, I owe Franklin an apology. All this time I've been saying that he is more annoying than Shelly in Friday the 13th Part 3. I take it back. Shelly is way more annoying than Franklin could ever be. This also might be the very first slasher movie, and I use air quotes because I'm still not 100% convinced that Texas Chainsaw Massacre is a slasher movie. I think it is a movie that has slasher elements, but I'm not quite sure whether I would call it a slasher movie. What do you guys think? Let me know in the comments. Do you consider Texas Chainsaw Massacre to be a slasher movie or nah? Back to what I was saying. This might be the first slasher movie to have a character say, "Quit playing games, guys." This also might be the first time a character jumped out of a second-story window to get away. There are some unintentionally funny moments in this, like when old dude was hitting Sally with the broom. I cracked up at that. Or when they're trying to get Grandpa to hit Sally in the head with the hammer, he just can't do it. I don't know if this is supposed to be funny, but it's pure comedy to me. Another note to new filmmakers, the runtime of this movie is 83 minutes. So edit that shit down unless you have a complex story that requires more time to tell. If you run out of story at the 75 to 85 minute mark, keep your movie that length. Let's talk about the star of the movie, Leatherface. You don't actually learn a whole lot about him as a character in this. But still, Gunnar Hansen did an excellent job with this really physically demanding role. The ending of this movie is pretty cool. It has some unexpected gore. I love the shot of Sally in the back of the pickup truck basically losing her mind. By the way, I think it was an excellent costuming choice to have Sally wear white bell bottoms. The blood shows up better. And that last shot of Leatherface chasing the truck and when he can't catch it doing his iconic chainsaw dance. How could you not love that? Then immediately smash cut to black? That's how you end a movie. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre is the blueprint for a certain subgenre of gritty horror movies. Without the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, there would be no Hills Have Eyes, no Wrong Turn, no Frontiers, no House of a Thousand Corpses. And without Texas Chainsaw Massacre, you have no Saw. You get my point. At the time of this recording, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre was available on Tubi with limited commercial interruption and also available on Shudder completely commercial free. The copy that I watched was on Shudder and it looked digitally remastered. This movie is a certified classic and I enjoyed it much more now as an adult than I ever did when I was a child. I just couldn't appreciate the nuances to this film until I saw it with a completely developed brain. And with that, I'll be back in a moment to talk about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2.
What happened was true. Just as terrifying as being there. Even if one of them survives, what will be left? The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. After you stop screaming, you'll start talking about it.
Welcome back. Let's get into the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. This was released a whopping 12 years after the original. And as the original was a snapshot of a moment in time in the 70s, this was a snapshot of a moment in time in the 80s. You can tell as much from the poster, which is a parody of The Breakfast Club. First of all, when I see that Canon logo, I immediately get nostalgic feelings. Because when I was growing up, when you saw that Canon logo, it meant you were in for a good time. Then I see that the makeup effects were done by Tom Savini, and I'm all in. Plus, this is also directed by Tobe Hooper. I was very excited to see this, but then I found out that this is the only Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie that is not available streaming. The only place I found it was on Amazon. There are DVD copies for around $8 and some change. I'm approaching this review as though this is a first time watch. I did see this on video sometime in the 90s, but I don't really have any memory of it, so I'm going to talk about it as though this is my first time watching it. As a matter of fact, the only thing that I remember about this movie is the coat hanger guy. The sequel starts with a text crawl recounting the events of the first movie. Then we see two rich college jerks driving around, shooting at signs and prank calling a radio station before a chainsaw-wielding Leatherface riding on the back of a pickup truck rolls up on them. For some reason, his chainsaw is extra long this time, and the blood and gore is turned up to 11. This is my kind of movie. The story then follows the radio DJ that they called and the police lieutenant who's following up on the deaths of the rich college car jerks. The DJ goes to cover a chili cook-off, and the winner is a member of Leatherface's Sawyer family. He says the secret of his award-winning chili is not to skimp on the meat. The lieutenant tells the DJ to play the recording of the car jerks getting killed to get a reaction. Leatherface and Platehead show up to the radio station and tear it apart. Just like Sam Raimi made Evil Dead Part 2 way more campy than the original, Tobe Hooper made the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2 way more campy as well. I really love the Evil Dead 2 Dead by Dawn. This, not so much. It was boring and a bit annoying, and it didn't really suit my sense of humor. Your mileage may vary. Leatherface basically chases the DJ around while not killing her. His family acts weird, and the lieutenant also runs around acting weird for 1 hour and 40 plus minutes. I started playing games on my phone and surfing Twitter, I gotta admit it. Even the gore wasn't enough to hold my attention. The opening sequence was probably the best sequence. It feels like Tobe Hooper just showed up to get a check. This feels like a literal cash grab. And a part of me feels like he purposely made it this bad so that they wouldn't ask him for more sequels. That didn't work. The mask looks alright compared to the original. Leatherface can walk through walls now. Shout out to Bill Johnson who plays Leatherface in this. I also feel like he was doing it for a check because in between the time that he made the first Texas Chainsaw Massacre and this, he made Poltergeist and he made Life Force. And those are excellent movies. I already spoke about the whole Spielberg-isms that are present in Poltergeist, but I still give Tobe Hooper his credit. And Life Force is an excellent movie. The only thing that it was lacking was budget for the special effects. So to go from Life Force to this, I'm gonna borrow a British expression, I feel like he was taking the piss. And it didn't work because we still got sequels afterwards, if that was his intention. As I said, the gore looked great, but that was not enough to make me like this movie. Like I said earlier, at the time of this recording, this movie was not available streaming anywhere. You could purchase a copy of the DVD on Amazon for anywhere from $8.25 to around $8.50. So, to recap, the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1974, certified classic. Love it for everything that it is, even though Leatherface is not my favorite slasher. And we'll go in the comments. I think I asked you guys in the comments if you consider Leatherface to be a slasher or not. Because it kind of has some qualities of a slasher and it kind of doesn't. Y'all let me know. The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, don't like it so much. It's just okay. Let me know in the comments how you feel about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 1 and 2.
13 years ago, audiences across America were horrified by the savagery of a faceless killer. Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. The Buzz is back. Directed by Tobe Hooper.
Hey Latchkey kids and driving mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, mistress of the snark, connoisseur of gore, and the hostess with the mostest. And I just watched the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. This installment is produced by New Line Cinema, and I thought that might be a good sign. It's also 85 minutes long, which is great. It means that they learned their lesson from the overly long Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2. This one also starts with a text scroll, recounting the events from the first film and then saying that Leatherface is still at large. This is a first time watch for me. I had never seen Leatherface the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 until just now. I did not know that Ken Foree and Viggo Mortensen were in this. We get to see Leatherface making his new mask, being watched, and then slamming this out of his iconic door. Then it cuts to a couple driving in a car, Michelle and Ryan. They end up veering off course from their intended destination and have to deal with Leatherface and the Sawyer family. The first jump scare with Leatherface is well timed and effective. In this, their car accidentally collides with another driver named Benny, who's played by Ken Foree. Then Leatherface chases the three of them around the woods, plus another girl who was kidnapped about a week ago. Until Michelle runs into the Sawyer family's home for a short sequence. And is that the same little girl from Troll? It turns out the answer is no. Her name is Jennifer Banco, and she was also in Friday the 13th 7 The New Blood. The little girl in Troll is Jenny Beck. Even their names sound similar, Jennifer Banco and Jenny Beck. They both remind me of Heather O'Rourke. Anyway, they all end up running through the woods again, and this gives Leatherface the opportunity to act like Jason Voorhees. There isn't much gore to be seen in this. It's mostly cutaways and implied chainsaw massacring, much like the original. Leatherface's chainsaw is newer and even longer, and now he has a squeaky leg brace. I can't say that I enjoyed this installment. I probably will never watch it again, but here is some trivia that I found out about it. The opening with Leatherface making his brand new mask was an homage to the opening of A Nightmare on Elm Street. Kane Hodder was the stunt coordinator in this movie, and he also played Leatherface in the trailer for this movie. Speaking of the trailer was filmed before the script was finished or the movie was filmed. And Caroline Williams has a cameo as her character Stretch, who is now a news reporter. And with that, I'll be back in a moment to talk about Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation.
Some tales are told, then soon forgotten. But a legend is forever. Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Now, from the producers of A Nightmare on Elm Street, the real terror begins.
Welcome back. Let's get into Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. Once again, this starts with the text crawl recounting the original story. Then the title card reads, "The Return of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre?" Must have been the original title. We are introduced to Jenny, played by Renee Zellweger, who has the creepiest creeper-ass stepdad who ever creeped. He assaults her and threatens her before she goes to prom. Then we travel with her to prom, and there are a bunch of teenagers presented to be sliced and diced. Or so I thought. A girl named Heather catches her boyfriend Barry cheating on her and tries to steal his car, but he jumps in the car with her and then tries to blame her for his cheatations. But it turns out that Jenny and her prom date Sean were in the backseat of the car smoking weed. So this is our four main characters driving away from prom in the car. They get lost on the road, plus they have a car accident. They go wandering through the woods, and you know what happens next. They have to deal with Leatherface and the Sawyer family. Matthew McConaughey plays a member of the Sawyer family with some type of electronic leg brace. And he actually says his all right line from Dazed and Confused. And this movie feels too damn long. Once again, I was so bored I started playing on my phone. I got a new high score in Wood Block Puzzle. What? The movie's only 87 minutes long. It's the longest 87 minutes I've ever experienced. I did like the film Leatherface, that was a cool change. Also, the chaos that ensues when your victim controls your mechanical leg brace with a remote control. That was interesting. Other than that, this was the biggest waste of my time. I will probably never ever rewatch this sequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre either. I mean, we're at a 2 for 2 loss today. I super resent how they tacked on that super rich guy at the end talking about how he wanted this to be a religious experience on a secret society tip. Your movie is not that deep, and this is certainly not an actual slasher movie in my opinion. It's a horror thriller. There's nothing wrong with being a horror thriller. It's just don't sell me a slasher movie in your trailer and then turn it into a horror thriller. I don't like the bait and switch. 0 people were massacred with a chainsaw in this. 0. So, what do you all think of Leatherface: The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 and Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation? At the time of this recording, Leatherface: The Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 was available on Prime for about $3.99 to rent, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation was available on HBO Max. I say that to say, even though I did not enjoy either one of these, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it, and just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Let me know in the comments what you think about the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3 and 4. I'm gonna say for short.
Matthew McConaughey of A Time to Kill. Renee Zellweger of Jerry Maguire.
Are you having fun yet?
Texas Chainsaw Massacre: The Next Generation. If looks could kill, he wouldn't need a chainsaw.
Hey Latchkey kids and driving mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, mistress of the snark, connoisseur of gore, and your hostess with the mostest. I just watched Leatherface, released in 2017. This is a prequel to the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series. This takes place in 1955. It opens with a birthday party for a little boy named Jed at the Sawyer family home. They have someone tied up and they encourage little Jed to do his first chainsaw killing. He fails at this and the matriarch of the family tells him that he let them down. Later on, there's a young couple that is tricked into stopping their car, and the young lady gets out to check on an animal that might be injured in the road. Turns out not to be an animal, but a trap. And it's during this sequence that I noticed some homages being paid to the original. Like the angle of the camera when the girl is walking is almost identical to the angle of the camera when the girl is walking, the one in the red shorts, in the original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Stephen Dorff shows up playing a sheriff, and Lily Taylor plays the matriarch of the Sawyer family. The sheriff's daughter is the victim of the Sawyer family, but he can't prove it. So what he does do is get all the children removed from the Sawyer family's home. Being that the Sawyer family is cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, all their children end up in a psychiatric facility for teenagers. This movie tells the story of the Sawyer children. They end up escaping the facility and take a nurse hostage. We go on a wild journey with them and see how psychotic some of them already are, and how one particular one was pushed into being psychotic. This movie features one super gross sex scene. On a scale of De La Morte de l'Amor to necromantic, this is right in the middle. Still very gross though. There are also some super tense scenes, like the rock scene. I'm phrasing it that way so as not to spoil this. If you've seen the rock scene, you know what I'm talking about. There is one scene in this that you really have to suspend your disbelief because it is just, it doesn't make sense. I don't see how that could happen. It's not realistic. This movie did succeed at making me feel really bad for the Sawyer child that did eventually become Leatherface, in a similar way that Friday the 13th makes you feel bad for Jason Voorhees. The gore is moderate when compared to something like My Bloody Valentine or Pieces, but it's still great looking. We actually do get to see a chainsaw make contact with a body, and they don't cut away like they do in 2 out of the 3 sequels that I spoke about earlier. There was some really great gore in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2, but that's about it in this series before you get to this film. We also get to see the origin of the very first skin mask that Leatherface ever made, and that was pretty cool. I went into this with very, very low expectations, especially coming off of just having watched Leatherface, Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, and Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Next Generation, which are the 3rd and 4th installment in these series, and I didn't like either one of those, so I went into this with very, very low expectations, and I was delightfully surprised. I really liked this movie. There was a couple slow moments, but for the most part, I think it was a pretty solid prequel, and that's hard to do. It also contains an interesting reveal that I didn't see coming. At the time of this recording, Leatherface was available for free on the Pluto TV app, and I say that because, like I always say, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it, and just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. Have you seen Leatherface, the 2017 movie? Let me know in the comments what your thoughts are.
I want every cop from here to New Mexico on the lookout.
You show them who you are.
Hey Latchkey kids and driving mutants, I'm Lady Shasha, mistress of the snark, connoisseur of the gore, and your hostess with the mostest. I just watched Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022, and despite the title, much like Halloween 2018 and Scream 2022, this is a sequel and a soft reboot at the same time, a requel. I guess. And I'm even more excited to say that this is the only movie in the Texas Chainsaw Massacre series to give us an actual Texas Chainsaw Massacre. This movie also answers the question, what if Leatherface was more like Jason Voorhees? And the answer is, you get a more entertaining movie. I'm so sorry, Texas Chainsaw Massacre purists, you're gonna hate me for this. You might not like this movie, but I love this movie. If you've watched my reviews for the previous 5 Texas Chainsaw Massacre movies that I have reviewed, you know that while I respect the 1974 groundbreaking original, Leatherface is not my favorite slasher, and I've had reservations about even calling him a slasher. But I like this Leatherface. Before I get to the juicy parts, let me get some of my gripes about this movie out of the way, because it's not a perfect film. There is some lazy writing here. Like, you know, if you've watched my channel, you know that I hate it when a character looks at another character and goes, "Hey sis," as their first line. That is lazy writing. The way you introduce siblings is you have them interact as siblings, and then if you write them correctly, the audience will infer by their interaction that they are siblings. When you have a character's first line be, "Hey sis," it's just so lazy. Many of the characters are annoying, but I think they're meant to be annoying, especially Mel, who acts like the stereotype of a try-hard, pretentious hipster asshole. She immediately judges the pickup truck guy because he has a gun on his hip. Mind you, this takes place in Texas. States like Texas and New Mexico are open carry states, so it really shouldn't surprise anyone that's from America to see someone with a gun on their hip. They should have made these characters maybe people that came from Canada or someplace that actually has gun control. That said, later on in the movie they do explain why her sister has an adverse reaction to seeing this, and that explanation makes total sense. Literally, I should have had the same reaction, but I'll get into that at the end of the movie because it's kind of a spoiler. Anyway, they stereotype the Texas guy in the pickup truck too, even having him call them city folk. Do you know that there are cities in Texas? Huge cities. Houston, Dallas. There was a show about that one. Anyways, they're part of a group of young people, 3 ladies and a gentleman, who bought the ghost town of Harlow, Texas, with plans to sell it off to investors. The potential investors show up on a bus that looks like a 1950s or 60s bus on the outside, but a neon party bus on the inside. They are the hipsters to ever hipster. Seeing all these ankles was irritating to me. I do love that the people that came on the bus were stranded there. Can you say high body count? I will say that whoever wrote this kind of does not like younger millennials. Especially hipster types who want to turn Harlow into Austin. Anyway, let's get to the parts that I really love about this movie. The first kill sets the tone for the entire movie. 2 thumbs up for originality, level of gore, and execution of practical effects. We also get the return of an original character, Sally from the 1974 The Texas Chainsaw Massacre. She comes back like, "Evil dies tonight." There are some dumb moments in this, like when Mel was hiding under the bed and she wants the people on the bus to know that she can't get out of the house. Homegirl has a whole Apple Watch on. Text your sister on the bus. Also, the useless girl with the braids, who told nobody of the impending danger. To be fair, Mel and her sister said nothing either. For some reason, everybody in this movie has a problem with their mouths working. How hard is it to tell people that there's a big guy with a skin mask on and a chainsaw on the loose? This movie kinda had me rooting for Leatherface. Like I said, I found this very enjoyable. The gore was top notch. The body count was top notch. It restored my faith in this series. I mean, I would say if I were going to recommend the Texas Chainsaw franchise, I would say watch it in this order. The original 1974 Texas Chainsaw Massacre, Leatherface, the 2017 prequel, and then this one. And then you have a solid trilogy right there. I almost started to say something, but it is a spoiler. With that, I'm going to say this ends the spoiler-free section of this review because I'm going to get into a few little spoilers for those who want to hear the spoiler review. Okay, here's your last warning. We're getting into solid spoilers. At the time of this recording, this was available on Netflix, so I definitely encourage you to watch it on Netflix first and then let me know what you think of it before you watch the spoiler section of this video. Last warning, spoilers, let's go. Remember when I said one of the sisters had a specific reason for why she had the reaction she had to seeing a gun holstered on a man's hip. The reason was that she is a survivor of a school shooting, which is something that's very, very current, especially, well, not just current. We've been having these, well, most publicized ones since 1998. I'd say publicized because even before that, I was sitting in a classroom in, I want to say it was 91 or 92, where someone shot at the school, and we all jumped underneath our desks, and the police were called to the school. School was not dismissed. We just were in lockdown in our classrooms for maybe a half an hour to 40 minutes, and then we continued the school day. Now, back in 91, 92, whichever year it was a long time ago. I'm old, I can't remember. That should have been a warning. They should have taken that seriously, because had they taken issues like that seriously in the early 90s, then maybe by the time Columbine popped off in 98, they would have been prepared. That's why I said earlier I should have had the same visceral reaction. And add to that, I've had several members of my family since then be victims of gun violence in multiple ways. Domestic partner violence, another school shooting, a mugging, like just all different types of gun violence. And it's actually sad that I am desensitized to it, that I don't have that reaction to seeing a gun on someone's hip. And I think a lot of Americans were kind of desensitized to that type of gun violence. But anyways, let's get to the more fun part of the movie. This time Leatherface cuts off the face of his adopted mother and dons that, and he puts blush on it. And I thought this might have been a callback to Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3. Yeah, it was 3 he did that, or was it 2? I can't remember. Somebody in the comments, let me know. Did he do that in parts? No, it was definitely 3. I think it was definitely Leatherface Texas Chainsaw Massacre 3, where he had the negligee on. Or was it 4? See, I shouldn't have watched them all back to back. Now it's like one big movie in my head. You guys let me know in the comments, which Texas Chainsaw Massacre was it that Leatherface had on the nightie and the lady's face that he applied the lipstick to? I'm almost 100% sure it's 4. I think it's gotta be 4, otherwise known as Texas Chainsaw Massacre The Next Generation. But let me know in the comments if I'm correct. Now let me talk about my favorite parts of this movie. One of my favorite parts is when Leatherface John Wick the hell out of that wall to get to his chainsaw. He was like,
"People keep asking if I'm back, and I haven't really had an answer. But now, yeah, I'm thinking I'm back."
Another amazing scene is when Leatherface got on the bus. And when he first gets on the bus, their reaction is to raise their cell phones up and start recording him. And then one of them says,
"Try anything and you're canceled, bro." It's funny because it's true.
Do you think Leatherface cares about being canceled? I'll give you a guess. He doesn't. This is probably second to the original, my favorite Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie, because it is the only movie to give us an actual chainsaw massacre. I mean, just chopping everybody up, just eviscerating people. It was beautiful. It was really, really nice. I enjoyed it. But you know, I am the connoisseur of gore, and this gave me what I wanted. At the time of this recording, this was available on Netflix. And I say that to say, don't take my word for it. Watch it for yourself. Just because I love something doesn't mean you won't hate it, and just because I hate something doesn't mean you won't love it. What did you think of Texas Chainsaw Massacre 2022? Let me know in the comments. Until next time, bye.
Leatherface.
Looks like it's you that he wants.
I'm not gonna let him kill you. Fear no evil. Fear no evil.
Try anything and you're canceled, bro.
Oh, fuck.